I got a mic now. I hope it's working. You know, please work. I spent money on you. Do you work if I hold you up to my face? Yeah, you do. I'm just gonna do that. Greetings, my fine subjects. It has been 4 weeks since I last uploaded. Why, you ask? Well, it seems that while creating last video, I entered this sort of semi-conscious state. And I realized I don't know how to make a video. But I made another dress, so I shall make another video. This dress was inspired by Princess Anneliese from The Princess and the Pauper, the Barbie animated movie. And now you may ask, why Daphne have you picked this dress from this movie? And if you didn't ask, I am going to tell you anyway. Many centuries ago, when I was a young child, I moved into a new house. This was a very good house, but after a while I began to get a bit antsy. A restless child I was. This house was very nice, but there was nothing to do. I have no games, no dolls, no nothing. And so I went to my grandmother and asked her if she would get me some. She was a bit annoyed with me because I had interrupted her prayer, but God blessed me with a cute face, so she couldn't say no to me. She brought me to overpriced secondhand store and told me to pick 5 DVDs. One of these DVDs was The Princess and the Pauper, and this particular film changed my life. I remember watching it for the first time. When Erika sang the line about making Anneliese's dress, I thought, why? That is so easy. Why have I not done this before? So I go to grandmother's linen cabinet and pick the shittiest sheet I can find, press myself, and sewed it together. It did not work, and my grandmother ground me for destroying her sheet, which I now know was expensive Egyptian cotton. But ever since then, I've been very interested in fashion and other creative mediums. So since I have decided to start my brand and post my creation to various platforms, like and subscribe by the way, it'd be very good if one of my first projects was inspired by the film that changed my life. The first step was designing the dress. As you can see on Anneliese's original dress, the pink fabric has a diamond design. Now I couldn't think of anything worse than having to measure all those straight lines and sew them. I don't want to do that anymore. I flipped it so that the diamond pattern would be on the stomacher. I was hesitant to do this because the more things you change, the more it doesn't look like the original dress. But I'm a designer, not really a cosplayer. Very rarely do I make an exact replica of something. Although Bella May's designs, I watch her all the time and she's incredible at doing that. It's just not my thing. These items still are going into my closet. I'm not making disposable content dresses, so I do need to like them. Surprisingly though, even though I shortened the dress, completely redesigned the skirt, completely redesigned the bodice, and completely redesigned the sleeves, there were a few people who clocked the inspo. And you guys are so cool for that. As you probably saw from the title, I'm getting a tattoo. My very first tattoo, in fact. Now you may be wondering, what is the tattoo? Could it have anything to do with the subject of this video? Well, if you watched Barbie, Princess and the Pauper incessantly as a child, then I'm a girl like you. And you probably know what it is. Do you have your answer locked in? Locked in? Okay. No changing it. Drum roll, please. It's the shoulder birthmark tattoo. I have seen this all over social media. In fact, one of my favorite princess performers has this tattoo, but I was so worried about it because it's kind of niche, so I couldn't find any examples on darker skin. Furthermore, the only exposure I've had to tattooing was Ink Master. They always freaked out whenever there was a canvas with dark skin, or just any skin that wasn't pure white, to be honest. So I emailed the tattoo place that I was looking into a picture of myself and explained the tattoo design to make sure it was possible. They asked me to come in for a consultation, so I woke up early the next day to get ready, determined to make a good first impression. I'm on my way to my tattoo consultation. I hope I don't miss the bus. Now here's the thing about me, alright? I have time blindness. I've learned this about myself. I could wake up so early, give myself hours to get ready, and still not be on time. And I plan to be there 10 minutes early, but
I missed the bus.
just kidding. Gosh, why do you have so little faith in me? And wouldn't you know it, I arrived at the tattoo place the exact same time as my artist. Aside from her being super nice, the tattoo place itself was so my vibe. Everything was my vibe. Look at how pretty this place is. So after she reassured me that it was possible and that she felt comfortable tattooing my skin tone, I went ahead and booked. But then, on my way out, I noticed a bookstore. And outside this bookstore were 6 carts. Upon closer inspection, I noticed that all the books were marked with $1 stickers. Clearly, a clearance sale. My eye starts twitching. I decided to look through. In my experience, books that are being sold for that cheap are never good. It's the slop that nobody wants. I plan to take a quick look and go along my merry way. But then, are those Harvard classics? So I limited myself to 10 books because I needed to set some boundaries. I ended up with 11. Thank goodness I didn't go too crazy. But then I look to my right, and what do I see? More Harvard classics! So I bought more. A little more, like 13 more. What was the damage, you ask? Well, it was $22, which doesn't make sense according to math. But I'm not gonna argue to make it more expensive. I still had to go to the dollar store to get some snacks for the garbage people. I probably should have gone through the books after I went to the dollar store. I was lugging these 2 huge bags of books around. When I was leaving, this really nice homeless guy opened the door for me, but then he put his hands together and was literally like begging me for money. I just told him I didn't have change, which was not true. I just really didn't want to put my heavy bags down. I know, I'm evil. I still feel bad about it. As I was walking away though, I spotted a violinist playing on the corner. I actually did really want to give her money because her playing was so pretty, but I literally just told the guy behind me that I didn't have any change. Like, how would he feel if I gave her change in front of him? I imagine he'd feel so sad. So I had to pass. But if that was you, just know that your violin playing was really pretty, and I telepathically gave you good vibes and money.
Jenna, what's the special pie today?
I've had this pink fabric for about 5 years now. I bought it at Value Village and I've been hoarding it in my fabric stash ever since. I just think it's so pretty, so I was so worried about messing it up. I had to make another trip to Value Village because I needed another white fabric. I wonder if any of the workers are suspicious of me at this point. I mean, I do make several trips there just to buy white blankets. I wonder if they've made any conspiracies about me. And you know, I tried my best not to buy another pair of shoes, but they always seem to have really nice ones in my size, and that's not my fault. Also, I heard that you go up a shoe size once you have children. Mothers, is this true? Because if so, I think that's a reason for me not to have children. I am not kidding. There are very few things that I love in this world more than my shoe collection. After days of procrastination, I finally cut the fabric. The cutting process is always the turning point for me because I can no longer go back. I normally section out a whole day to cut pattern pieces because it is so much work. My back is always killing me after it as well. Oh, by the way, thank you guys for 10 subscribers. I hit it sooner than I thought I would. In fact, at the time of recording this, I am at 24 subscribers, which is my favorite number, so that's gotta be a good sign. I don't even really know what I want for this channel. I suppose to gain an audience, but I do have a very specific goal, or two, I suppose. I want to become famous enough for people to make memes of my face and use me as a meme template, and when I die, I want people to put pictures of me mewing next to cool stuff I've said. You know, like those quotes? Yeah, I'll put some up on the screen as inspiration. But I don't know how to quantify that. I don't know how much time it would take to reach that status, but I know that is my goal, so. Remember when I said that I didn't want to mess up? Well, this skirt ruching thing is something that I've never done before. It has been my New Year's resolution to put myself in circumstances that make me uncomfortable so I can improve my craft. I have a lot of good ideas and designs, but I always hesitate because I'm worried that I'm going to mess up. My plan for that day was to face my fears and work on the skirt. But somehow I ended up working on the bodice anyway. Imagine that. But somehow, some way throughout the process, I lost the bead that I was supposed to bead the stomacher with. They were these beautiful 6mm flat back, gold encrusted sew on pearls. And I lost them. I looked for them for a grand total of 5 minutes before deciding I didn't want to. I'm not doing this. I just realized I don't have to. And when have I ever found something I was looking for anyway? And then I had a great idea. Why don't I triple the work I need to do? Why don't I practice my beating skills? Why don't I spend 4 hours beating the stomacher with this 3-bead design instead of 1? Yep. But I'm not going to talk about that because, well, it's boring. So instead, we're going to talk about why the heck people always want to tell me their business. Like, seriously, I don't know if it's something about my face or my presence that makes me approachable and makes people just tell me things that they wouldn't normally tell other people. Don't get me wrong though, I love it. But there's definitely something. Like this one time I was in Farm Boy and I saw this employee pushing a cart full of stuff. And I was just checking out, so I wasn't paying much attention. But then all of a sudden, this lady leans over and is like, "Someone just tried to run off with all this stuff." I was like, holy crap. And she then proceeded to tell me this whole story about how this lady tried to run out the doors with what looked like $300 worth of groceries. Well, actually, it's Farm Boy, so like double that and add like $500. I didn't get to hear the full story because I was just checking out one thing and there were people behind me, but it was juicy and I love drama. The same thing happened a couple months ago. I was on the bus going to visit my aunt in Caledonia and this guy sat next to me and started talking to me. Now, I usually prefer to not talk to people on the bus because there is literally no escape if something goes wrong. But I don't mind chatting. As you can see, probably, I am a very talkative person. So I was chatting back. He seemed nice enough, and we were just talking about how he visited Caledonia often and that he was moving in with his friend. He then started talking about how his kid lives there. I was like, oh, that's lovely. So you'll get to see your son more often. And then this man says, maybe his mother uses him as a pawn to manipulate me. And I was like, oh! I just met you 5 minutes ago, but sure, I guess. I didn't really know how to respond. So I said like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Hoping to kind of tie up that conversation. I sensed that I'd open a can of worms that I wasn't interested in looking into. But then he starts going into more detail about his ex, their relationship, her race, for some reason, and how she's a horrible mother who shouldn't have custody. She's a leech, all this stuff, and how it's unfair that the court is not going to award him custody because he doesn't have any money and because of the things he's done, which I can only assume is probably a criminal record. And this, keep in mind, we are on a bus, and want to know what's worse? It was a quiet bus. Yeah, no one else was talking. So I just knew that someone was eavesdropping. And again, I really didn't know what to say, which is very rare, by the way. Talking is kind of my thing. Ask any of my friends. Also, I'm pretty resistant to trauma dumping, as in, I feel like I'm pretty good at comforting people and giving advice, being a supportive person when they're sad, and I've also been guilty of doing it, so I know where it comes from and I don't hold it against the person. This is all to say, I am very seldom lost for words, but there I was, sitting trapped in my chair, listening to this guy go off about his baby mother. I was like, yeah, that might be a reason that the court wouldn't award you custody, even though you're probably a great father. Now, here's my thing. This guy seemed really sweet, so I'm not talking specifically about him, but how does that even happen? Was she not like that before? And I know there's a lot of circumstances that can make it so that it's not the other person's fault, but why is it that whenever I meet someone who has a child and they're absent, there is some grand reason, or multiple, as to why it's not their fault? Mysterious. Very mysterious. By the way, I finished the bodice, but I guess I forgot to take footage of it. So here's some footage of a mysterious bug and a dead bee I found. Also, before I went to bed, I moved Cornelius into his new tank. I call it his mansion. For those of you who don't know, I have a pet corn snake named Cornelius. He is the cutest thing that exists in this world. I never have him out while sewing, like Makara has Garion, mostly because I'm worried that I'll cut him in half, but he is still my animal sidekick. He's almost 7 years old, and he's named after the prince from my favorite movie. Okay, honestly, on tattoo day, I was so scared. I was ready to cancel and like run back to my mommy, but I had already paid the deposit, which is probably why they make you pay the deposit. My friend, who I made come with me because I was scared, bought me a slushie though, so that was cool. I think it was also so that I wouldn't pass out, but I honestly wasn't really listening when he was talking about that part.
Are you doing that on purpose? Yeah. You're a jerk.
My tattoo artist, Lacey, was so nice. I'll put her ad up somewhere. Another moment for how pretty this place is. And she let me record the process, which was nice because I wanted to have it for archival purposes. She spent the first hour getting me prepared, answering all my questions, sizing it. Even though I said that I wanted it to be 1.5 inches, she still printed out multiple different sizes for me to pick from. Like I said, I initially wanted the 1.5 inch, but I think the curve of my massive biceps made it look smaller, so I ended up going up to the 2 inch. She then used like the discoloration on my skin, like my scars and stuff, to match the color so that it would look like a birthmark. Now, I spent so much time deciding whether or not I wanted to get a tattoo because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to sit for it. I don't have the highest pain tolerance, and I didn't want to pay for something and then leave or waste the artist's time. This was actually my friend's gift to me 2 years ago, and I chickened out both times on my birthday, so I thought it was only fitting that he record my reaction to it. Drum roll, please.
It's not
No, it's never as bad as what we think
not
it's gonna
that
be.
bad.
It didn't really hurt. Well, yes, it did, but it was fine. I really got myself worked up over nothing. Sort of like when I first created this channel. Quick story time. When I was 14, I made a YouTube channel. It was called Cue Me Cakes, and I made it for the exact same reason I made this one, to share my art with other people. I uploaded for 3 years before I quit because my videos were starting to get more than like 10 views. It was starting to escape the scope of just my family and friends, and I got scared, thinking, oh my gosh, what if people from my school find my channel and make fun of me for making cringe sewing videos? So I stopped, and now I regret it because I could have been so much further along in the process of building my brand if I had just continued what I was doing. Granted, I would have to rebrand because I like this name better, but still, it all came to a head earlier this year when I had a mental breakdown and I realized, like, holy crap, I am 21. I am a year away from turning 23, and then I'll be 24, then 25. I'm basically 30. I am not a kid anymore, and I don't have unlimited time to make my dreams come true. I need to start putting in the work now. My dream is to become a writer and a filmmaker, and there have been so many times where people have asked to see my work, and I have nothing to show them because I didn't upload anything. I let my work be confined to my family and friends. So not only did I miss the chance to show it to a broader audience, I let myself stagnate because I didn't get any feedback on my work. I was so nervous to make this channel. In fact, I didn't upload on it for like the first 6 months. My mind immediately goes to like the worst case scenario. What if nobody watches my videos? What if no one subscribes to my channel? Which did not happen. My first video is sitting at 45 views, I think, which is higher than I thought. And I currently have 24 subscribers, which is my favorite number, and also higher than I thought. I'm realizing that making decisions out of fear will only lead to me being miserable. I think I'm gonna put that message on my 10 subscriber plaque when I make it. That things are seldom as frightening as they first appear. Anyways, I didn't get much sewing done, but I did snuggle under my blanket and watch YouTube essays while eating sweet and salty popcorn. The President's Choice brand, the best one, which I found to be a very pleasant end to my day. By day 5, I had finally accepted the fact that I actually had to make the skirt. Like I said, I'll upload the dimensions of the skirt on my Instagram if you're interested. I just don't want to put myself through talking about it again because I could barely put myself through the patterning process. There were 3 factors that had been dissuading me from starting the skirt. 1, this was going to take a long time. 2, math. And 3, there were a lot of pieces. So kind of like number 1. But I'm the main character, so I knew I had to figure it out. There would be no story if I didn't. And figure it out I did. But I turned my brain off while doing it, so I can't really explain the process. And I know what you may be thinking. Why does this girl think she's the main character? How pompous! How absurd! Well, for your information, I don't think I'm the main character. I know I'm the main character, and I have evidence. If I'm not the main character, why would I have character friends? Did you think about that? My one friend Abby sews her own clothes and travels like the whole world. She also made this really cool drawing of me, which I actually kind of look like right now. My friend Chloe literally speaks to animals. My friend Nava is a fashion icon. My friend Claire is a violinist, an actress, and a singer, and a yoga instructor. And my one friend Thomas is interesting. Let me give some context. This is Thomas. Don't worry, he's actually not a cat. This was for a theatrical production, so there's no need to be scared. Or actually, maybe there is, because I'm convinced that he's not of this planet. He's the alien of the group, if you will. Either that, or he's secretly a vampire. Actually, I'm leaning more towards that explanation, because he speaks in a very specific way. It's as if he's been on this earth for hundreds of years. And the best way I can describe it is that he speaks like a fancy British person, like that Queen's accent, but if it wasn't a British accent. I'll give you an example.
Can I have your opinion on something? Sure. Okay. This is my draft for the painting I'm gonna give Emma at her housewarming. I want to know if any of the proportions are off before I paint it. Also, if the text looks better in uppercase or lowercase. If one is being entirely realistic, according to anatomy, some of the proportions would be incorrect. But considering the style, it looks right, and I think uppercase looks better, especially if you use a slightly more embellished font. Just a humble idea. It might look nice if you give the lettering and sort of banner above them a cross-stitched look, and perhaps even a needle and thread at the end so it looks like it's being embroidered. But it does look really nice.
And the other day, I sent him this TikTok.
When you think about it, you can't really go to heaven or hell for eternity by virtue of the fact that you're not in heaven or hell right now.
Because I thought the comments were funny, and I'd like you to keep in mind, he's not the most talkative person. He really is a vampire, in the sense that he disappears for long stretches of time. So this is the first time I'm hearing from him in probably over a month.
Eternity is an odd concept. Humans can fully comprehend neither eternity nor infinity, as our minds are finite. This is something based in fact and not fate. If I remember correctly, God is the only being that can be truly eternal, as he is the only one with neither beginning nor end. From this standpoint, true, eternity is not time without end, but rather all of life lived in one moment. A roundabout way of sort of understanding this would be that God has all of time and existence stretched out before him, frame by frame, like a video, but he exists in each frame at the same time, and those in heaven sort of share in that. Theologians teach, I think, don't quote me, that heaven is one unending moment of supreme bliss, because there can be no time, because time is a measure of change. We refer to heaven as eternal because it is pretty much the only way we can begin to comprehend such an incomprehensible idea. I think. I am not a theologian, nor am I a philosopher, but the comments are funny. Wow.
I rest my case. As I was nearing the finish line, I made a startling realization. I needed to get ribbon for the lace-up bag, along with a couple other things. So, I needed to go back out into the toxic, radioactive wasteland that is downtown London. Terrifying. Also, does anyone else write their shopping lists on their legs when they go out? I found this superior to writing it on a piece of paper, because as evidenced in my last video, I forget things a lot, and it is highly unlikely that I will forget my leg. Although, when I was at the bus stop, I saw this ant that was carrying away another ant? Is this a friend, or is this a trophy retrieved from the battlefield? If there is an ant expert that stumbles across this video, please let me know. Also, another crazy thing happened. Case in point why I don't leave my house, but when I was there, at the store I mean, some girl and her friend tried to run off with a basket full of stuff. I see a trend is emerging in this video. PSA, don't move to London. But the security guard starts grabbing the basket, wrestling it away from them, and like pushing them out of the door. And they're yelling. They're all like, "You can't touch her. You can't do that. We know our rights." Blah, 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 blah. It was intense, at least from what I heard from the opposite side of the store. I am not approaching any conflict as a black woman. I am doing the opposite. Because why would I go look? So the police can come and convince themselves that I did something? No thanks. No shade. I finally finished the dress at 4 in the morning. It was worth it though. Or so I thought. The dress was really pretty. Like totally gorge. But the weather Not so much. So I waited a day, then another day, then another. It was painful. I needed to shoot this dress expeditiously. I'd had my pink braids in for too long, but I desperately wanted to shoot them with this dress because I thought it was so pretty. But the cloudy weather was not letting up, and it got to the point where I had to sing out of the window, begging for the sun to return. Bright and warm and wonderful. And you know what? It worked. Because why? I'm the main character, and I have magical powers. Hello! If this is you making it to the end of the video, thank you so very much for watching all the way through. I'm having so much fun making these videos. In fact, they're actually quite therapeutic because I am so energetic. It takes a lot to wear me out, and recording these videos and editing them is one of the only things that actually makes me tired. If you like the video, like it and subscribe to my channel. I have plenty of things in the works, including, but not limited to, a Lord of the Rings inspired dress and a Disney Fairies one. See, I said it. Now I have to do it. Well, now if there are no further questions, I shall take my leave. This is Daphne, signing off.